Christmas at the Highland Mall here in Austin. Things change a lot in 30 years. Highland Mall is no longer the busy place that it used to be. But on that occasion, my wife and I were walking into the Foley's department store. I was carrying our 4-year-old daughter. Our 3-year-old was tagging along behind. My attention got diverted and I turned down an aisle. And we got focused on something on the aisle. And Lane said to me, "Where's Alicia?" And I said, "I thought you had her." And she said, "I thought you had her." We were terrified. And who was at blame quickly went away. And we went into action. Searching for her. Frantically searching. About 15 minutes later, a department clerk came up and said, "Your daughter's been found and she's down in security downstairs." Well, there was relief and there was guilt. Were we good parents? And we get downstairs and Alicia has a bottle of soda pop, candy, a coloring book, and a lot of attention. And it's like, what's up? No big deal. Jesus and his family was on a pilgrimage, a Passover pilgrimage to Jerusalem. They were among family and friends, going to worship and to learn. And Jesus made himself right at home, especially in the temple in Jerusalem. Teachers, great teachers. And he sat among them. And there was that interchange that was going on. You know how it can be in an academic setting. Energetic, exciting, intoxicating, well, maybe not intoxicating, but heady. And all of that interchange is going on. And the teachers are amazed at this young boy, 12 years old. The questions that he asks and the answers that he gives. I'm looking at some of our professors thinking, oh, if I could just have 2 of those students this semester. And some of the students are looking around saying, me and who else? We'll talk about that in a moment. Meanwhile, back in the caravan, Mary looks up, or Joseph looks up, and says, "Where's Jesus? I thought you had him." "No, I thought you had him." A search of the caravan is made, a frantic search, and then they anxiously make their way back to Jerusalem. And there they find Jesus with the teachers. And I don't know if it went this way or not, but with the answer that Jesus gave to them, somewhat of a typical teenage answer, it was nearly like, "What's up? I'm okay. Why are you worried?" And Mary, as only a mother's love can do, had a few remarks for you. And maybe the paraphrase would go like this, when he said, "Didn't you know I have to be in my Father's house or about my Father's business?" And it says Mary and Joseph did not understand that. And I wonder if Mary said something like, "Well, I don't know exactly what you mean. I don't understand it, but I know this, young man. You're going to get your bag, and you're going to pack it, and you're going back with us to Nazareth. And what you're going to come to know for the next several years is the inside of your Father's workshop like you've never known it before. You're going to know the saws, and you're going to know the mallets, and you're going to know the spikes, and you're going to know the dowels. You're even going to know the sawdust piles. And you're going to know that until either you grow up or Elijah comes back, whichever is first." And guess what Jesus did? He goes back. But there's this little note in the text that tells us a little more about Mary. Maybe she didn't understand. Maybe she didn't fully know. But it says that she treasured these things. She stored them up in her heart. This is the first time Luke has Jesus speaking in his gospel. Now, Mary had gotten previous insights into who Jesus was from the angel when she is told who she would be as God's handmaid. She had heard from Zechariah and from Elizabeth and from the shepherds and from Anna and Simeon right here in the temple previously. Now she hears from Jesus. She treasures it up in her heart, which says to me that Mary was open. She was open for her understanding to be expanded and to be and to grow deeper. Now, when Jesus said, I had to be in my Father's house or about my Father's business, the little word translated had to be here is sometimes translated must or necessary. Let's fast forward approximately 20 years. There are two other disciples who have been on pilgrimage, Passover pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And they've left disillusioned because they think they've lost Jesus. He'd been crucified. And the world had been turned upside down. And as we remember that story, Jesus comes up to them on the road, but they don't recognize him. And what does Jesus start doing? Opening the Scriptures to them. And then he finally says, how foolish, how slow of heart you are. It was necessary for the Messiah to suffer and to come into his glory in the way that he did. It was necessary. And Jesus breaks bread, and they recognize him, and their understanding changes. In a sense, we're on a pilgrimage as we begin our next academic year here at Austin Grad. We're on this pilgrimage together, and as Professor Peterson said at the beginning, our mission here at Austin Grad, part of that mission, is to promote the knowledge, the understanding, and the practice of the Christian faith. That's what's going on in our classrooms. But one thing I believe that we have to be careful about is to presume too much. It's very easy for a student to come in presuming that they know a lot more than they do. I see some alumni shaking their head. It's easy for professors to think that they've pretty much figured it out. But when we reach that point, we've gone beyond presuming to becoming presumptuous. And we need that mind and that heart of a Mary who treasured these things and was open to learning and open to changing. And another thing for us to be aware of and careful about as we go on this pilgrimage. We're going to be busy. And it's going to be busy, it's going to be easy to take things for granted. And we could very easily overlook the fact that Jesus is not with us. That somewhere we left him behind. In all the excitement, and in all the enthusiasm, and all of the heady learning. So I believe that it's very important that we ask that question, where's Jesus? And we keep that question before us as we go into the semester. I found one expositor's comments helpful. I hope you do as well. Let me read those. He wrote, as we read this story prayerfully, then, we can probably identify quite easily with Mary and Joseph, and perhaps with Jesus too, quietly asserting an independence of mind and vocation while still returning home and living in obedience to Mary and Joseph. We may want to remember times when we thought we had lost someone or something very precious. We may want to reflect on whether we have taken Jesus himself for granted. If Mary and Joseph could do it, there is every reason to suppose that we can too. We mustn't assume He is accompanying us as we go off on our own business. But if and when we sense the lack of His presence, we must be prepared to hunt for Him, to search for Him in prayer, in the Scriptures, in the sacraments, and not to give up until we find Him again. We must expect, too, that when we do meet Him again, He will not say or do what we expect. He must be busy with His Father's work, and so must we. So we assemble in this convocation to dedicate this academic year to be about our Father's affairs, to be in His house. And we would do well to often ask, where's Jesus? And we would also do well to follow Jesus as He's described in verse 52. He increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human favor. May God enable us to have such minds and such hearts and such attitudes in this year. Where's Jesus?